What is up, everybody? Sysadmin Sean here, and today we're doing part 2 of the alerting and monitoring series, and we're going to be covering Icinga or something like that. This was a really cool product I liked for a little while, and now it's kind of a terrible product that I hate very much, but we'll get into that in just a second. So Icinga is a really awesome monitoring and alerting tool. It does a lot of automation for you. It can do a lot of mass updating for you, making a lot of rules and situations to say, hey, this subnet of servers or devices are cameras, for instance, security cameras. So only apply ping check. Done. Then it will check every device on that network, and if it finds one, it will apply a ping check to it and call it a day. And then you can also say, and make sure that those all fall into this group of systems, and then make sure that that group only notifies this person that cares about cameras being up or down. It's great for that. The downside is it's really only free for Ubuntu and Ubuntu adjacent now. So it used to be free for everybody. Anybody that wanted to run it could run it. And then they decided to paywall it if you don't use Ubuntu or, again, Ubuntu adjacent. We use Rocky, we use Red Hat, we use CentOS, we use Alma. So we were going to have to pay for it. And it wasn't cheap. They quoted us $5,000 for basically one server, which is a lot when there's still Nagios for free. There's still Zabbix for free. There's still lots of options that are completely free. You just build them. And we weren't getting anything from that money other than, I guess, support, but we had never needed to call support on Icinga. We never reached out. We never really used like community posts or anything. We just sort of figured it out because it's not that difficult. I get why a company needs to make money to pay the developers and the people that build the product, but just charge everybody or charge nobody and ask for donations. Something in the middle. Don't distro lock us. That seems kind of rude. But anyway, we're going to be using Ubuntu so that I can show off kind of how to do this. They kind of go through everything we're going to have to do here, and we'll get it installed real quick. We'll set up plugins. We probably won't set up the API. We'll set up the DB maybe. That should be everything, question mark. But anyway, we'll go through it and just follow along with me. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. And here we go. So we are following these steps exactly. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to run apt update. Actually, it says to log in as root. So we'll do that real quick. Okay. And then we won't worry about upgrade. We'll grab this real quick, which I probably have all those, but just in case, we'll paste in this line. Done. We will install that keyring.deb we just grabbed. Done. And then we will do these commands. Done, we hope. And then we'll run apt update again. So there's the Icinga. So we're good there. So let's install Icinga 2. There we go. And then let's get the daemon running, or at least configured. Bang. Oh, that's wrong. Ta-da. So application loader, configuration, notification commands, notifications, application host groups, host, file logger, zones, checkpoint, endpoint. We'll show all that stuff in the web GUI. And then we're going to add the monitoring plugins because you will need these plugins or else you can't do most of the monitoring. Almost every Icinga 2 setup requires the Icinga API as Icinga Web connects to it. Icinga DB requires it and enables cluster communication functionality for high available and distributed setups. I have done a high available setup. It is kind of difficult to get going the first time around, but once you get the hang of it, it's not too terribly bad. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to do the API setup. We'll follow the instructions on the screen. Certificates, blah, blah, blah. And that part's done. And then we will restart Icinga like it says. Bloop. Ta-da. Icinga DB is a set of components for publishing, synchronizing, and visualizing monitoring data in the Icinga ecosystem. Again, I'm going to call it Icinga. If that's incorrect, yell at me in the comments below. That's just how, when I look at it, that's what I see and what I hear in my head. Could be very wrong. I've never watched another video on this. So setting up Icinga 2 Icinga's DB feature is only required for Icinga 2 master nodes and single node setups. Hey, that's what we are. This guide sets up the Icinga DB Redis package provided by Icinga, which ships the current Redis server. Redis? I don't know. But anyway, we're going to knock that out. So let's grab that. Here's the DB package we need. Nom, nom, nom. It didn't even ask for a Y there. Weird. And then we will turn it on. Let's get that DB going. Boom. There we go. Enable remote redis connections. By default, Icinga DB only listens on 127.0.0.1. If Icinga Web or Icinga 2 is running on another node, it won't be. So we're good there. We won't be making that change. Enable Icinga DB feature. With the Icinga DB feature enabled, Icinga 2 publishes all of its monitoring data to the Redis server. This includes configuration and runtime updates via the Icinga 2 API. All right, no problem. So let's enable that feature. So Icinga has features, and you turn them on and off when you're creating your server. So we've enabled that feature. I think I can even do, will it do a list? Yeah, it did a list. So these are disabled: command, compat log, debug log, elasticsearch, gelf, graphite, influxdb, influxdb2, journal, live status, open something, perfdata, and syslog. And we have API checker, db, main log, and notification enabled. You will turn these different things on based on what you might need in your system. And that is it for the basics. Now we need Icinga Web, so that we actually have a web GUI. So Icinga is running right now, and it is technically checking stuff and can do notifications. But we need to add Icinga Web, I'm pretty sure. I don't think this is up yet. All right, next up, we're going to be doing the Icinga Web 2 install. So pretty much a lot of the same stuff. Don't need that, don't need that. We're going to grab this. So we're just going to add some stuff, packages basically, related specifically to Icinga Web. And then we will install the web server. It's going to use Nginx. And I will put links to both of these guides in the description below, so you can do this yourself and try it out if you run into any problems. So to be fair, I'm literally copying and pasting, so hopefully you don't run into any issues. And again, using Ubuntu so that I can get to everything easily. All right, there's all that stuff done. So we ran this command next, setup config wig server nginx, document root, blah, 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 public. It made some tweaks. And then we will do a setup token create. I remember this. We're going to need this little piece of information. So I'm going to grab it and put it in a notepad real quick. And then in case you do not remember, there is a setup token show. That's kind of neat. You need to manually create the database and database used prior to starting the web wizard. This is due to local security restrictions, whereas the web wizard cannot create a database user to the local Unix domain socket. No problem. So that means I got to go into SQL. They do not do this part easy for you. They didn't even have us install MariaDB yet. I love when vendor install guides tell you you need to put certain things in, and then they don't give you the instructions on what to do. So we install MariaDB server. Again, not listed. We will then enable the service, so it will start on boot. And then we will start the service. And then we should be able to type MySQL. Yay! Now it says none. So we need to create a database. So these are MySQL commands. Bloop, create a database. Cool, done. Grant all on Icinga Web 2, blah, 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 by change me. We're going to leave that alone. So the user is going to be Icinga Web 2, and the password is going to be change me. Obviously, do not use this in real deployments. Cool, and we're done there. And I believe we can just hit exit. Yep, there we go. So this is our setup. Remember, we needed that token that we got. So let me grab that real quick. We paste in our token to verify we are who we say we are, so that we have this exist. The following modules were found in your Icinga Web 2 installation. To enable and configure a module, we're just going to do monitoring. So we're good there. We're good there. We're good there. We need image magic in case you want graphs. I don't want graphs right now, so we're not going to worry about that. This is really cool. It does a pre-check to let you know that everything you need is installed or is not installed. Authentication type. Sure, we'll do database. Now please configure the database resource where you want to store users and users groups. So we do that. Host local group. Username Icinga. Oh, let's go back to our terminal and verify that. I believe it's Icinga Web 2. Yep, Icinga Web 2. And we set that to change me. Now we will validate the configuration. Database name must not be empty. Okay, so we need a database name, which we called the, I believe, Icinga Web 2. Yep. Not now. Hey, it's cool. Bloop. Backend name, cool. Now it's time to configure your first administrative account. Now, obviously, you can do different login types. We've done SSO with this before. That's just stuff that you can look into yourself. Application config, show stack trace. Yep. We're not going to make any changes here. Bang. And cool. No changes here. Everything's good. Once you get this resource configured, most of this is just next for right now for a basic setup. So we need to turn on IDO MySQL, which we can't enable. Interesting. Oh, we need to add this. Apt install. This is a bit old, so this might not be the best way to go. Please specify whether Icinga. Yes. Icinga 2 IDO package must have a database installed configured before you use. This can be used optionally, handled with dbconfig common. Yes. MySQL application password. Please provide a password. So we'll also just call this change me. So it's connecting to the database, I think. Okay. Let's do. So that should have built the database for us. Let's check. Show databases. There's an Icinga 2 database, Icinga Web 2 database, information schema, MySQL. And that should be fine. Ta-da. So what was missing from the documentation, which I had to go find real quick, was first we had to install MariaDB, but that was for another one as well. But we needed to do MariaDB so far. Now it does do Redis, but it doesn't cover that in the documentation. So I had to go over some other documentation. Once we did that, we had to build two databases. One database for Icinga web data and this IDO database. Now this IDO database requires some steps. So I will copy this page. We did this piece. We ran through this and this. Then we hopped into the SQL. We built this database. We called it Icinga 2 IDO because there was already an Icinga 2 database, which might have been the one we're supposed to use. Don't know. But the web install wants us to do this stuff. So we have to do this stuff. And then we did all that and we did that. So now we hit next. And please define how you want to send commands to your monitoring instance. I don't know. Localhost. API user. Change me. Is that good? Failed excessive audit conversion can't connect to the Icinga 2 API 401 unauthorized. So I'm not really doing that right now. So we'll just leave it like that. Cool. Finish. And we're done and we can log in. So there's Icinga. Here's how it looks. We can see that we're already monitoring our Icinga test server with process, load, ping, SSH, disk, ping 4. The Icinga service is monitoring swap space, disk space, HTTP. Apt says that there are 20 critical upgrades, so maybe I should take care of that. I'm not gonna, but maybe I should. Now you're gonna notice that there's not too much I can do here. Even though I'm an administrator, this is pretty bare bones. I can't add a host. I can't add host groups or anything like that. So what you need for that is a feature called Icinga Director. So let's get that installed. So Icinga Director is a really cool little graphical piece that ties into Icinga web that makes doing a lot of this configuration super easy. So we'll just follow along with this again. And again, I will obviously list this in the description below so you can do it yourself. We're getting that done. And then we're going to have to set up another database. Yay. This database has some specifics to it. You've got to set the character set type. So we're doing that. Let's just do this. Probably could have just copied all this together and it would have been fine. So we're creating a user called director, and their password is going to be change me. And then they're going to get all perms on that database. Now we have to configure director. So I believe if we exit this, systemctl restart Icinga 2, we might have to enable the feature, but that technically is not in this little guide. So, but let's see. Check it out, y'all. Now we got Icinga director. So no database. So we've got to, oh goodness. We have to build a resource, I believe. Aha. Here's what we need. So these are called resources. Resources are kind of like that configuration we saw recently. We're going to call this director. It is on localhost. The database name is director. The username is director. Password is change me. And then we will validate configuration. Do not save. Save these changes. So now we have this. So now if we go to Icinga director, we can click this drop down, select the director, and hit store, and then create schema. And there it goes. I apologize for this. I know it's going to hurt, but we have to go into light mode. Wait a minute. Where's the... There we go. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, but it's the only way to read this nonsense. Please change the encoding database UTF. It is UTF. We said that already. Your installation of Icinga director has not yet been prepared for deployments. The Kickstart will assist you with this. Will it? Endpoint name. It is root with this password. So let's grab that. And there we go. That's done. So now we have the API user. There's going to be so much stuff. And so it made all these changes for us and added all this stuff from Icinga plugins for all these special checks that get added when we did the install. We have to deploy these. So we just click deploy pending changes and it does it for us, which pretty makes a bunch of config files and modifies a bunch of config files and calls it a day. And then now there's nothing pending. It's all clear. We can go to the dashboard. This is not going to change, but look, we got these cute little graphs and stuff. But let's say we want to use Icinga director to make some host templates. So we've got this one template. It's been deployed. Now we can actually make a host. So we go to host, we click add. We're going to select Windows generic test machine. Actually, it's got to be a host name. So it would be like Windows DC1 dot whatever. We'll call it that. And it'll be Windows DC1. That's its display name. That's not going to work, but we'll do 20.2. I don't think that's anything right now, so it's probably going to fail. And then you can put in notes and all this stuff. You can hit add. And now we've got that host created, right? First, we just got to deploy the change. It's going to create that host entry or fail because validation failed for Windows EC1 type host. Attribute check command attribute must not be. Okay, so we need to add a check command. So you might think, oh, I need to go to what I just made here and put a check command, but that's not true. You need to go to your template and put a check command in here. So we're going to modify it. We're going to put a check command. I think it will auto. It used to auto. We'll hit store. We'll hit deploy. It's going to deploy that change here. And you can see we have a tracked activity log. Everything I've been doing is getting tracked here, right? So now if we go back to our host, not our template, but our hosts, and EC1, we hit deploy. This should succeed now because there is a check command that I'm pretty sure that check command was just ping. And then we'll go to director, overview. and see it's pending. So it's going to try to do a ping 4 on Windows DC1. I don't think there's anything in there, but we can see. And I think you can go in here and click check now, and then it'll crash because that's totally supposed to happen. Permission denied. I'm an administrator. Yeah, so that looks like it's starting to fail. No big deal there. We're not getting alerts, so we don't have to worry about it. But let's go into a little bit more that Director can do. So Director will let you make host objects, host templates, host groups, and choices. So choices are kind of a way to say, if this, do that for different stuff. And then host templates are ways to build different templates. You can even, configure tons of different templates like domain controllers, database servers, NTP servers, whatever you want to modify. Data field categories. So these will let you define data fields, build categories for those data fields, provide data lists so you can pull in imports, all sorts of stuff like that. It has been so long since I've done all this. Yeah, and it's mad. This is how you can do kickstart and endpoints so it can start deploying the agent and communicate to the agent to your servers for you. You can import data sources in here to pull in data from like VMware. There's tons of plugins and stuff like that. You can have a VMware plugin. You can pull in data from Dell, all sorts of cool stuff like that. Here's where you can see all of the commands that exist. So like if you wanted to monitor HTTP, you can call this command, business process checks, X509 certificate checks, all sorts of cool stuff in here. It's really neat. It takes a lot to get used to at first. And of course, I'm doing a bad job of showing that off right now. But it's got notifications, dependencies. You can schedule downtimes. You can do everything with this. It's a really neat little tool. And man, do I hate having to look at it in light mode. There we go. Much nicer. But that's about it for this one. Hey, this is Editing Sean. I'm about done cutting up this video, and I kind of wasn't really happy with how it turned out because I didn't go too much into detail about what else you can do with Icinga. So if you want to see that, let me know down below. But otherwise, I'm kind of going to let this go just because this isn't the monitoring system I use currently, and it's not one I really super recommend. But if people are curious about that and they want to learn more, I don't mind putting it on the schedule for videos I need to make. But honestly, with the feedback I've been getting lately, it looks like a lot more of my content is going to be HPC focused. So stay tuned for that. But again, if you ask for it, I'll do it. It's a hobby for me and I like doing it and I like educating. So just let me know. All right, back to the ending. We could go into a deep dive, but it would take me a while to re-research everything we used to do with it. But like I said, I will put all the links for everything I used tonight in the description below and you can follow from there. But that's it, and we'll see you in the next one.